All right, so get this. There's this grape, you guys. It's called Marselan,
And it's kind of a big deal, even if you haven't heard of it yet.
which, let's be real, a lot of people haven't.
Well, we're going to change that today.
We're about to do a deep dive.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating about Marselan is it challenges some common assumptions about hybrid grapes.
Ooh, intrigue right out the gate. So, okay, for those of us who need a little bit of a refresher, what exactly is a hybrid grape?
hmm
And why is Marselan turning heads?
That's a great question. A hybrid grape is essentially a cross between two different grape varieties. You can think of it kind of like combining like the best traits of, say, a sports car and an SUV.
Okay, I'm following.
So in Marcellin's case, it's a very meticulous blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Grenache.
Ooh, interesting.
And it was created in 1961 by a French ampelographer named Paul Truel. And just a quick aside, an ampelographer is basically like a grapevine detective. They specialize in identifying and classifying grape varieties.
Wow. Okay, so starting to get some Sherlock Holmes vibes here. Cabernet Sauvignon, known for its structure, and Grenache, known for its fruitiness. That sounds like a promising combo. But it took a while for Marcellin to, find its footing, right?
That's exactly right. You see, initially, Marcellin struggled with really low productivity in the vineyard. And, for winemakers, especially back then, a bountiful harvest, that was the name of the game.
That even though it had this amazing pedigree, Cabernet Sauvignon, Grenache, it wasn't like an instant star.
Exactly. In fact, it took almost 30 years for Marcellin to even gain official recognition as a grape variety.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Remember how I said it challenges assumptions about hybrids?
Yes.
You bet.
You've got my full attention. Tell me more.
Okay, so Marcellin actually inherited some pretty significant strengths from his Grenache parent, particularly disease resistance,
Oh.
which is becoming increasingly valuable in today's world.
Yes.
And it's remarkably adaptable to different climates, which is a huge plus, especially, in the face of climate change and everything.
Okay, so it's hardy, it's adaptable, it's like the grape equivalent of an all-terrain vehicle.
That's a great way to put it.
Suddenly that whole low yield thing doesn't seem so bad when you've got a grape that can thrive where others struggle.
Exactly. And that brings us to why Marselan is having its moment in the sun right now. Winemakers are realizing that this grape isn't just resilient. It's capable of producing some truly exceptional wines.
Okay, so speaking of exceptional, can you paint us a picture of what we might actually find in a glass of Marselan?
Oh, absolutely. Get ready for a sensory adventure.
Okay.
Okay, imagine this. A basket, and it's brimming with ripe cherries, juicy blackberries,
Okay.
maybe even a hint of plum.
You had me at blackberries, but keep going.
Yeah.
So what else can you tell us about these intriguing flavors?
Well, you'll find this very captivating interplay of red fruit and black fruit aromas. And they're often layered with these subtle, earthy undertones. And then there's this whisper of spice. Think black pepper or even a touch of clove.
Ooh, I love how complex that sounds.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a symphony for your senses. Now, I'm a big fan of wines with a bit of structure. So how do Marcelan's tannins come into play?
Another great question. Marcellin's tannins can be incredibly captivating. They can range from silky smooth to much more robust. And that really depends on how the winemaker chooses to handle the grapes and the aging process.
I see.
And this makes it a really versatile grape for different palates.
Something for everyone, then.
Absolutely.
So what about aging? Does Marcelan have staying power like its Cabernet Sauvignon parent?
It absolutely does.
Okay, good.
Here's a fun fact. Unlike a lot of hybrid grapes, Marcelan has excellent aging potential.
Really?
Give it a few years in the bottle, and those bright fruit notes, they'll develop into something even more intriguing. Think like dried fruits, leather, maybe even a hint of tobacco.
Tobacco. Now that's a twist I wasn't expecting. I love how this grape keeps surprising us. Okay, so we've got history, we've got flavor. What about where it actually grows? Tell me about the terroir. I hear a grape is only as good as the land it comes from.
Absolutely. Now, this might surprise you, but terroir, which is a French term, encompasses way more than just the soil.
Okay.
It's the entire environment where the grapes are grown. That includes the climate, the altitude, even the surrounding vegetation. And Marselan is actually quite specific about its ideal terroir.
Okay, I am all ears. Spill the terroir tea. So where exactly does Marselan feel most at home? Where does it really thrive?
Well, unsurprisingly, given its origins, Marselan loves warm, sunny regions.
Makes total sense.
Southern France, where it was first developed, that remains a stronghold for this grape.
Yeah, I can practically picture those, sun-drenched vineyards, rows upon rows of Marselan vines.
You've got the right idea. And while France might be its birthplace, Marcelan's story, well, it doesn't end there.
Yeah.
It's making quite a splash in a place you might not expect.
Ugh.
Where's that?
Brazil?
Wait, Brazil. Okay, that's a plot twist I did not see coming. Tell me more.
It turns out that the climate in certain Brazilian regions, particularly Serra Gaúcha and Campania Gaúcha, is exceptionally well-suited for Marselan.
It's like Marcelan took a leap of faith and found this whole new world that was ready to, like, totally embrace it. This is what I love about wine. It's full of these, like, unexpected connections.
It really is. And those connections extend beyond just geography. We can't forget about the passionate winemakers who are crafting these really exceptional Marselan wines.
That's right.
In France, for instance, the Languedoc-Roussillon region, that's a hotbed for innovation when it comes to Marselan. You know, keep an eye out for wines from Domaine de la Mordorée. Their La Dame Rousse blend, which includes a touch of Marselan, it's really noteworthy.
Ooh, la dame rousse.
I love a wine with a good story. What about in Brazil? Any recommendations for us to, like, track down from those sunny vineyards you were talking about?
Absolutely. Miola Wine Group was a real pioneer in bringing Marcelan to Brazil, and their Miola Seleção Marcelan consistently impresses. And if you're looking for something that's like a true expression of Brazilian terroir, Casa Valduga Marcelan terroir, that's a must-try.
Okay, this is going straight on my shopping list, but before we get too carried away with all this talk of, like, deliciousness, let's talk food pairings. What can I actually eat with this magnificent Marselan grape?
Okay, get ready for some delicious synergy because Marcelan is a surprisingly versatile dining companion.
Love that.
Let's start with the classics, though. Grilled or roasted red meats.
Classic for a reason, right? There's just something so satisfying about a juicy steak and a bold red wine.
Precisely. And Marcelan, with its tannins and acidity, is really adept at cutting through the richness of those meats. Think
Yeah.
like a perfectly grilled ribeye or even a hearty lamb chop.
Okay, that's a no-brainer for sure. But what about going beyond those, like, expected pairings? Give me some of those unexpected pairings, the ones that will really wow my taste buds.
Now we're talking. Remember those spice notes that we discussed earlier?
I do.
Well, they actually make Marcelan a surprisingly good match for cuisines that people might not immediately think to pair with red wine. For example, it can hold its own beautifully with the bold flavors you find in, say, Mexican or even Indian cuisines.
Wait, really? Red wine with a spicy curry? I never would have thought of that. How does that work?
It's all about balance. The wine structure and those subtle spice notes, they actually complement the complexity of those dishes without getting overwhelmed.
I am making notes. Okay, so we've got red meat, we've got global spice. What about cheese? You know I can't live without a good cheese plate.
Fear not, cheese lover. Marcelan is up for the challenge. It pairs beautifully with a range of cheeses, from like a sharp aged cheddar to even some blue cheeses.
Blue cheese and red wine. I'm intrigued, but also I'm a little scared to ask, how does that work?
It's all about finding that right balance of intensity. A younger, fruitier Marcelan that can actually handle the boldness of blue cheese really well, especially if there are also like some sweet or nutty elements on the cheese plate to kind of like tie everything together.
You have officially expanded my culinary horizons today. And speaking of horizons, let's talk about the big picture. What does the future hold for Marselan?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But there's a lot to be optimistic about.
Okay. I have a good feeling about this grape's trajectory, I have to say. What makes you so optimistic?
Well, you've got me completely captivated by Marcelan at this point, I have to say. So yeah, I think there's a reason to be optimistic.
Well, and from like a viticulture perspective, Marselan is already proving to be so adaptable to all these different climates, which is a huge advantage as we're grappling with the effects of climate change.
It's like this grape was like built for the challenges of our time.
Right.
Are there any other reasons to be like hopeful about its future? Absolutely. There's this like growing movement toward organic and biodynamic winemaking.
Right.
And Marcelan is very well suited to these practices.
So not only is it delicious, adaptable, it can be produced in a way that's better for the planet. That's a win-win in my book.
Exactly.
It sounds like Marselan really checks all the boxes. This has been such an incredible deep dive.
It really has. It's been a pleasure exploring the world of Marcelan with you.
Yeah.
And, for those listening who are feeling really adventurous,
Yeah.
they could even seek out some Marcelan ice wine.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a rare treat, but some producers are experimenting with it, and the results are incredible.
Wow, ice wine. There you go, listeners. Another reason to get out there and explore the wonderful world of Marselan wines. Who knew that one little grape could hold so much possibility? This is why I love a good deep dive. You never know what you're going to uncover. Until next time, happy tasting, everyone.